starting. So hello, we're here with a Scrum session. This is going to be really trying to get back to forum where we have very short private hangouts that address one particular problem, where we state the problem and try to circulate solutions in a very efficient manner. So today we're going to be talking about community building and how to connect in real life community building to the sort of online resources that are becoming more frequently available to more and more people, and what opportunities could be available to conservatives and traditionalists that we're not taking advantage of currently. So I'm just going to throw the floor open to Chewy Bunny. Do you want to tell me what you're thinking about this problem?
Okay, so my criticism, I guess, came about from the same criticisms I have with my political ideology being libertarianism. That I've realized all too many people are focused primarily on theory over any actual execution of their own principles. So in translated to conservatism especially, I feel like too many people, because I have a lot of leftist friends, and I live in a very left-leaning city, Los Angeles. So I kind of get the gist of what a lot of their critiques and problems are. And a lot of it comes down to just simple things like hypocrisy and inability to see, practice where people, they'll state something, but they don't actually show it in any kind of a practice. And I think one of the things that we could all benefit from is having what in my head is, think of it like a cyclical, circular movement where the people online, such as like the distributists and other conservative people, they may take the opportunity to once in a while engage with maybe causes or social things that may be in agreement, or maybe just present themselves as helpful to society by maybe attracting attention to things. Like I brought up yesterday, maybe.
I'm not so sure I understand. You're saying online content creators could. I mean, I guess you could circulate petitions, I suppose, right?
Circulate petitions or bring attention to things that they could. Okay, let's start actually from the ground up.
Well, I mean, the form that this takes is you state a problem at this stage, right?
Okay.
So you're not listing solutions right now. You're listing the problem. Then we're going to circle around and list other problems that are similar. And then the second time we go around, we'll list solutions.
Okay. So the problem as I see it is a lot of people reject conservative values and conservative opinions because they do not see a lot of conservatives act on those principles in practice. I think this is something that I see and hear quite a lot from my fellow friends who are left-leaning when I engage with them on some political debates. And, a lot of times this, to me, seems like an issue that could be resolved with, just showing that, it's not just about having conservative values or having, trying to preach down upon people like what's good and what's bad and you should behave a certain way. It's like show, don't tell kind of a thing. And I feel like this is a movement that is desperately needed by a lot of men, as reiterated by Professor Jordan Peterson, for example. And I think a lot of people would love to know how they can be part of this movement without, a lot of criticisms that come with it.
So is that the problem as you see it?
Yes, it is.
So I'll add sort of the difficulties. Or add more of the difficulties I've seen. So I've had a lot of experience building both in real life communities and online, well, sort of online communities, like the one in ClearThreads. And I say there's the big problem with connecting the two of them is the fact that this is an anonymous medium. So if you were to, I could talk endlessly in very vague terms about activities that I did that were directly IRL involved in communities, but I can't do it without doxing myself. so for IRL communities, I think that the problem with doing them in a big progressive city like I live in is the fact that people move around a lot, right? So you get constant churn, which is oftentimes very difficult to keep organizations together. One good thing about the online community is that you don't get churn from people moving. You get churn from people's lifestyle habits changing, but you don't get churns from people moving. So that's one opportunity, but I've never really been able to fully utilize it or understand how you can connect in real life to the online. It seems sort of like there's a chasm, and the attempts to bridge that chasm either risk people's professional lives or destroy a critical element of either the IRL or the online. So those are the problems I see. Anyone else have any problems with addressing the issue of being a more thick community of traditionalists? I mean, either online or in the real world. So just to clarify, my real world community is entirely religious. I don't even understand what a libertarian community would look like, frankly. I've never seen one, and I was libertarian for a good number of years before I became religious. So, someone would have to if this question goes beyond IRL religious communities, someone would have to propose a further clarification. But I'll end my spiel there.
I guess one problem I've run into here where I am, I'm mainly dealing with academia, so I kind of understand Chewy's problem with trying to keep your head down. Is the community I've been trying to get involved in here that was pre-existing, that was already well connected in the system here, is a religious ministry group. Not specifically belong to any particular denomination. That was doing a lot of good work, networking with all the different departments and everything. And I was trying to get plugged in with them, but then what I quickly realized is they had kind of, I don't know, I guess swallowed some of the poison, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I was talking to them.
All those organizations are thoroughly in bed with the SJW crowd.
Right. And as I was trying to maybe, I don't know, tip my hand to the guy that's in charge, who I've been trying to build a personal relationship with, as I started to kind of tip my hand a little bit politically, he immediately pulled back from me and was like, well, that's not really what we're here for. And I was like, well, shit. It's like the one place I thought maybe there might be some traditional kind of minded people here have already been corrupted. So I guess my problem is that there are some communities that have been forming already, but they almost immediately get infected.
So, Edgy, do you have any input?
I do not have as many perspectives as most of the rest of you. I'm a teenager, and
that's fine.
What I would say is not necessarily on clear trads, but on a lot of different groups. There's a lot of what I see as kind of backstabbing. Like there's a lot of people joking around, and that can be good, but it can also kind of
ship posting.
Backstabbing.
Backstabbing is
not like total betrayal,
serious.
but like saying stuff behind.
Gossiping, you mean?
Yes, gossiping. There you go.
Gossiping. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and the only problem is that stops us from being able to grow as a community. Or maybe it doesn't. I have no idea what I'm talking about, which definitely could be a factor too.
Well, okay. Okay, so we have.
I guess I wanted to comment additionally that I feel like I'm approaching a lot of the solutions from the perspective of marketing, rather than exploring the deeper. I'm not trying to get people involved in terms of religious sense. I'm trying to get people more involved in accepting conservative movements and traditionalist perspectives on many, many key issues which I feel are quite important and necessary in modern society. And I feel like it's not going to be done overnight. I mean, there's going to be, there's going to be having to shake hands with ideologues that are against you in many ways, but doing the reverse of what it seems like they're doing to academia, which is reversing it, slowly through poisoning it. And it's just, you can't just go in there and immediately change people's minds. But I guess one way
Can you be more specific?
Well, you mentioned that you work with a community, with a church group, was it?
Yes, I used to organize before I started dating my current fiance and was gone for all of the weekends. I used to organize a social justice wing of my church.
Okay, so I would say it's one thing you can be, I really, I need to think
can
of a
you
way
generalize this a little bit, though? Because all I have down for your issue is people perceive the conservative movement as being ideological with no ability to act on what it preaches. And conservatives need to get involved in more issues. And that's sort of all I have. And all I can get from this problem is conservatives need to become involved with issues. I guess I'm not understanding.
No, not with issues. I would say that conservatives need to be more involved in the community building and communities in general around them.
Well, communities in general.
And that's, I know it's really vague.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is a little bit vague.
Yeah, I'm trying, it's an idea that came to me yesterday, and I've been trying to really kind of circle around how I can better word it.
I mean, there's a problem here. Leave aside my objections about the IRL and online. But first of all, conservatives on average volunteer more than progressives do. But if you're wondering why they're not super visible in communities, I think the third complaint about existing institutions already being dominated by progressives who control the narrative, that's kind of a big thing, right? Conservatives keep their head down because these sort of charity things, they're dominated by the left.
I can see that. There are definitely issues. There are definitely issues that are stereotyped by the left on the conservatives. I guess that they, and some of it is absolutely insane. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been called a Nazi. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, even
though my religious affiliation and my upbringing and the fact that actually I'm not, but. They do. People do. And it's like...
if you're on the right, you've been called a Nazi. Yes.
What's that?
If you're on the contemporary right, you've been called a Nazi many times.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hurtful, but I think I don't think we should be afraid to keep our heads down if we have nothing serious to hide. And like I've never, publicly said anything that could seriously go against me. It's like I've never, publicly said anything racist or sexist or anything like that. I keep myself, my online presence pretty clean, and I think that I think I can get away with a lot of things because no one can come back to me and say, "Hey, you're a fucking Nazi," even though there's no evidence for it.
So I guess we're sort of in the clarification phase here before we offer solutions. I will say I'll ask this question to Chewy. Do you think my online presence is clean enough to stand up? Because I don't think it is, right?
I think so. Actually, I really do. I think there's nothing you've said.
But the thing is, I've had half my progressive friends disown me for minor heterodoxies. I mean, it's...
Yes, but there's a lot of people on the progressive side that just will not change their minds. Those are not who I'm really concerned with. I'm concerned with everybody else who's kind of like, man, the far left is not for me, but neither is the alt-right. So what are the options?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this seems to be essentially a call for high-profile conservative bloggers to de-anonymize their blogging. And I think I can see that it is very scary, right?
It is. But there are certain trees, there are certain places that can be blocked at now, but I truly believe
It
that.
totally broke up.
Yeah.
The NSA is trying to pick this one up for us.
Am I still there?
You're to hear now. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep, you're now.
All right. I do feel that there are certainly places that right now it's almost impossible for conservatives to make a presence, and that's just the way it is. A lot of
That's my
institutions,
experience. Yeah.
a lot of
But
institutions have been.
Why would we just join in these progressive organizations? Why not form up our own?
No, I'm not talking about organization. I'm talking about like industries and institutions like that. Like in academia, you're going to have to really push back in academia. In many places in entertainment industry, there are conservative voices, but they have to stay very squeaky clean to maintain their livelihood in terms of public image. So it's like we do need to tread the lightly, if that's the right term.
I guess, but this, I think you're sort of answering your own question. That's my only issue, right?
Yeah,
you're saying why aren't more people standing up? But if you do stand up, make sure you have a puritanically clean image and watch your every step and. For now,
I think that is the case because
I think this sort of answers your question, right? Not many people have a puritanically clean image.
No, they don't. But in terms of image and optics, your online presence, try to maintain it better. Don't let yourself don't shit post for no reason, for example.
That's something that I say frequently. And that's something that I think gets back to what Edgy was saying. Don't shit post.
I think honestly,
if you're interested in blogging seriously, you've got to put away the shit post. I mean, a snarky comment here and there, And the problem is if you're on Twitter, you'll almost always retweet something or tweet something under which the context could be misconstrued. And this is another problem, right? Essentially, get off of Twitter would be in order to avoid seriously suffering consequences for this, getting off of Twitter would be essential.
Yeah. Or rebranding yourself completely on Twitter and just making sure you don't retweet anything that could come back at you, and don't say things
but this is the thing. I retweeted some snarky comment with an allusion to a name I didn't recognize, and I didn't realize it was a play on Zionism or something like that, and people got really angry, right? I mean, Twitter is fast, right? You make mistakes. This is the thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
If mistake means career death, I'm just not going to play that game.
Yeah, and I'm kind of delving into a lot of this online discourse as someone who just this is actually the first couple of weeks that I've really been engaged with people on Discord regarding a lot of this kind of stuff.
No, it's good. Thank you.
I'm usually someone who just watches, strictly observing, and commenting to my friends, or just kind of forming my own opinions upon a lot of people's views. I tend to have my own perspective given my background, and I feel like a lot of people in the U.S. tend to be a little bit hyperbolic, if that's the right word, I think.
Well, sure, but this is how the game of politics is played, right?
Yeah, and
this is the thing. If the left can be hyperbolic and the right cannot, I'm afraid you're in a situation where the right will always lose. Right. Unfortunately, right. This is the problem. And I'm somebody who is cautious. I think that, I think the right is going to, in some sense, lose the culture war. I'm not so sure if the left can stabilize society, which is why I'm not sure in an ultimate sense they'll lose the culture war. But I mean, the problem is that, I mean, if you're saying like, okay, well, cease posting provocative and snarky things to Twitter, essentially conservative Twitter goes silent. In the same way that the progressive Twitter would go silent if you stop them from posting snarky, provocative things, because that's what Twitter thrives on, is snarky, provocative things.
At the same time, you do have people who are online who have a big presence, like Gad Saad, for example, who, you know, he has a lot of people that he's gaining people that are paying attention more to him. Someone like Jordan Peterson is gaining more people paying attention to him. And the leftists are going to throw their accusations.
The problem is that I can't fall back on like published books in the events that people come after me, and most conservatives can't.
So that's true, but I don't know.
This is the thing. I've heard this argument before, because we can't pretend that everyone can generate a $40,000 Patreon like Jordan Peterson can, right? I mean, it's just.
Well, that's true, and I don't know what life is like having to depend on a Patreon for your own sustenance. That's very strange. That's something I'm not familiar with.
So I think we're going to have to be forgiving with people not coming forward and de-anonymizing accounts. I don't think that's something, I would never ask that generally about conservative bloggers, because I know what they face.
I think one of the things you mentioned that that really resonated with me, and I strongly agree with, and I'm going to have to get going soon, but I'm just going to...
sorry about that.
No, don't worry, but I think you called it right in your criticism of the alt-right, that they do not have good leadership at all.
No, they don't.
And in fact, I truly feel that their leadership and the more extreme elements of the alt-right is what gets the most attention, and that's what is really, really painting a picture of them that ultimately, anybody who has any kind of ideas that might be sympathetic or similar to the alt-right are going to be drowned with the worst of the worst. And it's hard to get away from that when there is no one on the alt-right side that is in any way articulate, and at the same time not full of so much baggage, if that's the right way to describe it. And I think leadership is key, but leaders have to be, they have to understand their own image in the broader sense of society, and how they have to acknowledge, first and foremost, that people are going to start looking at them. And if people are looking at you, it means you have to put your best foot forward as often as you can. Now, of course, you're going to falter, but when you falter, I think it's important to own up to it, and I think that shows to people.
No, I understand, but the issue, I think, is just that, conservatives, by de-anonymizing yourself, people are going to scour the web for your worst foot and put that forward.
And you know what? I think I'm just generally more optimistic, I think. So I feel like if they do, and you own up to it, and you say, yeah, I said something stupid then, and I recant it because it was a stupid thing I said in a bad moment, you know what? There's always going to be people that are always going to hold that against you, but people like honesty. People who admit their own fault.
People are going to have to stand up. That's very clear to me. At some point, people are going to have to stand up under their own names and take a stand for what they believe in.
My biggest fear right now is that I do feel that the left is devouring its own. I do feel that they cannot.
Well, that's not my biggest. That may be your biggest fear. That's my most devout.
No, my fear is that in the vacuum that they will create, I don't know what is going to replace that. I don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to go back
hopefully
to just
more ravenous left that devours itself more quickly? That's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, the left is pushing people who are just leaning left, people who are mildly to the left, people who consider themselves legitimately for like labor movements and things like that. They're pushing them out because they're so obsessed with far left radical identitarian politics, and it's just eventually no one's going to relate to that. They're pushing out, eventually it's as people have said, it's like it's an Olympic sport to see who's the most oppressed, who's the biggest victim. and eventually it's going to collapse on itself. And the problem is, we have a Democrat Party that doesn't know what the hell to do. The Republican Party is following lockstep with Donald Trump, but are afraid to actually, stand up for any core values.
Oh, lockstep is a strong word.
I don't see any movement, realistic movement for any third-party positions, and I don't know what will replace such an empty vacuum of ideals in our society. And I do think a lot of people are somewhere in the middle, kind of trying to figure out, well, what should I believe in? What should I support? When neither side
I don't
no
think
longer
the middle is
represents
stable.
them.
I mean, frankly, just to answer your question, that's
What's
what's
that?
happening. The middle is not stable. Right?
I don't think it is. I don't think there's any.
That's why there's no one there.
I'm just wondering what is it going to look like in 2 to 3 years. What's going to happen in by 2020, for example.
I imagine it'll be a lot more polarized.
The way things have been going, that's unfortunate.
Well, yes, I know, but that's the reality we live in, right? That's the reality we live in. One thing, though, you should be aware: never run from these people. If you do get doxxed or de-anonymized, don't apologize and don't run, right? Come at them aggressively.
I don't particularly fear doxing, right? Because I don't particularly think there's anything that I've said that would
I
be
do.
offensive.
And lots
but I'd still, I do. I don't want to be exposed right now. I think that it's very, very, it's a very hard political climate
right now. Can we stop pretending? There seems to be a proposition on the floor that it might not be bad to be doxxed, or it might be, no, look, guys, let's be realistic here. Okay, like, I don't blame anybody for wanting to be anonymous. I understand, right? In the environment we are in right now. Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be a mystery to anybody.
I just hope that it comes to a point sometime soon where that's no longer going to be a fear and more people can stand up.
I think that's only going to happen if there's alternative conservative institutions that can compete with the progressive ones.
I'm going to dwell on some of these things you brought up a little bit more.
Yes. I don't want to keep you. Thank you so much for showing up.
No, it was a spur idea that I just kind of wanted to kind of throw at you guys.
No problem.
But anyway,
maybe we can move on to the other
great work. I love your channel.
Yes. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate it. Just so we can
no problem.
SCRUM, though, we have, and I guess I don't know if that really addressed the issue because we didn't really clarify. I'll just say that it would be. We'll put it as a solution. It would be nice if more conservatives de-anonymized, and someday they will have to. We acknowledge present system, serious consequences.
I'm going to think about some other ideas, and if I come up with anything, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, thank you very much for showing up. So,
hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so who is it? Light. Okay, who is it? Who's the third person in here?
I guess that's me.
Why? Wither.
Wither, yeah.
Yeah. So when I heard Dirt Issue, I was thinking about the series I had about resisting progressive institutions, right?
Right.
You just gotta get some IRL community that's anti-progressive, right?
Yeah.
That's the first step, right? The first step is that. And then you slowly start, bringing them in to activities and sort of introduce the community so that you're not alone, right?
Right. Here's just the main problem I've been having on that front. And I'm not like, it's not me giving up by any particular stretch of the imagination. It's just here's the stumbling block I've come into. Is that it seems like I have three potential options in front of me. And I've exhausted two of the three, I guess, and one just doesn't seem, the last one doesn't seem that viable to me, which is I can try to embed myself in an existing institution that I suspect might have enough kind of traditional anti-progressive spin to it that I can leverage something there. The problem is the one that I found turned out to be much more progressive than I bargained for. The other option I've been working on is just finding people one by one, sifting through the all the people I come across.
What's the problem with finding explicitly conservative or reactionary people?
They don't reveal themselves, and for obvious reasons. We're in academia. You just don't do that here. I found one by sheer luck.
That's a start, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad to have him. I met him at a graduate student orientation, and he and I just started chatting, and it somehow stumbled into politics and the media and how much we both collectively hate certain media outlets. And then I basically just posed it to him. I was like, well, you just want to put the cards on the table here. What are you politically speaking? And he's pretty conservative. I don't know if he's traditional per se. He seems more libertarian, but not progressive is great. So yeah, I've established a communication with him. We text each other a lot and talk about things going on campus. And
have you ever? I mean, are you in the middle of nowhere or like?
I'll just. I mean,
you don't have to. You don't have to
I'm
know
not
where
in the
you
middle
are, but I mean, I just want.
I'm not in the middle of nowhere. I am in a major city in my state.
Most major cities have conservative organizations in them.
So here's the other thing. So I've exhausted currently trying to find a not openly traditional organization that turned out to be more progressive than I thought. I've been digging for people individually, and so the third option I'm looking at that I don't think is all that viable.
Keep in mind Conquest's second law, right?
Right, but let me just finish the thought here, and we can roll down that road in a minute. The third option I'm looking at is I am looking at openly conservative or anti-progressive groups on campus. The problem with that is similar to what we've talked about is I am also in community with other grad students and students that I teach who I know for a fact are progressives who are not particularly loyal to me in any particular way. We exist in the same space. Who, if for whatever reason they were to see me openly associate with this group, I know for a fact would cause me some negative consequences in the long run.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we had one of the other grad students at my program got a list of all the new grad students in my batch of people coming into the program, and like internet searched us and tried to find anything he could find on us politically before we even met the guy. And he sniffed out one guy who turned out to be like an MRA. And he started just like ratting him out to all the professors and all the other grad students that were already in the program. Yes, I'm dealing with this guy on my back. And so I know.
Did other professors like play ball with this?
Yeah, I mean he's well established in the department. I mean, there's at least 2 professors who are kind of on board with this whole thing.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised. It's too bad Chewy didn't stick around. I mean, this this sort of answers the question pretty succinctly, doesn't it? That's even more extreme than what I've experienced, and I feel like I've experienced some pretty extreme witch hunting.
So I just know for a fact that if I just waltz on down to our local chapter of the Young Americas Foundation or whatever, I'm going to have a rat that's like trying to like make me look bad with the professors who ultimately decide if I get a PhD or not. So
you're on a PhD program too. How far along are you with the program?
This is my first year.
Okay, I'm finishing. Well, okay, okay. I'm doing engineering, thank God, which is.
I'm a philosophy grad student.
Well, maybe not. Thank God, because I'm not really pursuing my love. I'm just pursuing practicality. But at any rate, it does afford me the luxury of not having professors that actively witch hunt on my political beliefs. I just have ones that I know are progressives, but the solution, that I found, IRL, is church groups. There are conservative churches. I'm a member of a conservative church. If they witch hunt you back to their church and try to make it an issue, you can sue them out of a job.
Yeah,
I'm serious. I'm
I
serious.
understand.
You go to legal, and you get the fucker fired instantly.
Yeah, that sounds.
We're not above that at
The
all.
fucker fired.
That sounds good.
I'm not above this. Are you kidding me? Where we are right now.
I am attempting to join a conservative Catholic church in the town.
That's the solution. They cannot legally
bother you.
Hold us against.
Yeah.
Right.
The only, I guess, problem there is I am a member of this conservative church. I just don't know. I just don't know anybody there. It's me and my wife, literally just like an artificial transplant.
They develop slowly, right?
Yeah.
Some conservative churches are really bad at outreach. That's something that people need to work on. But this is something that we've done these sort of scrums with like this church community stuff in the past, and it just has not worked, because every time it would be a theological or my church is better than yours argument, and I'm kind of convinced at this stage that we can only try to improve the communities inside the theological community. So maybe the Catholics could get together and work to come up with solutions.
I believe your phrase was, it was like rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not good. I will say this. The church community is your refuge publicly for conservative points of view, and then I would just join debating societies. These used to exist when I was an undergraduate. I don't know if they exist anymore. But the thing is that if you're an undergraduate, right, you just go to the debates, right, and then at the debates you go to the other side and go, hey, how's it going? And you get it. No, I don't agree with you, but I really like your stuff. How can I take you out for a drink? And then over drinks you kind of show your power level, and then you get linked into the network privately, right?
Right.
Don't post anything under your own name. People are lazy. They don't check your friends. People are really lazy, and you have to exploit that, right? My advisor and my co-advisor are both hyper progressive Jews. They thought until this year that I was Jewish because I look Jewish, right? It wasn't until I said, oh, I'm engaged. They're like, oh, what synagogue you're getting married? And I'm like, the Catholic Church. Like, oh, you're
Saint
Catholic.
Mary's.
Yeah. So, it was a little bit of a rude awakening. But, the people are lazy, right? The left is like eating itself. And you just need to make sure that you're not going to be an easy mark for them. And if it's easier for them to eat someone else on the left, they'll just eat someone else on the left, in my opinion.
Right. And part of the reason I'm trying to get more involved in this online community is that, honestly, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels when I'm going to campus every day, and I'm having to passively sit along because I'm a TA for a class where the lecturer is currently teaching about oppression and sexism and the wage gap. And I'm just having to sit there and, grit my teeth and not look like I have any particular opinion on the subject.
If you have a community that agrees with you, it's a lot easier to do that.
Right, but mainly
you're just like, I'm here just observing these wonderful, primitive people in their native environments, and I'm an ambassador from, my people are elsewhere, and that's a very interesting belief you have, right? That was my attitude. Well, if you have no community, and you think that these people are your community, you're just like, oh, I'm under assault here. But if you know that you've got people elsewhere, IRL, who agree with you, you're just like, oh yeah, I'm the ambassador. That's an interesting idea.
But yeah, that's a big reason I'm trying to get more involved here now, because I have not been able to establish a community for myself there, and I feel like I'm going crazy.
That's one thing online can perhaps provide. We got someone else in. It's Rambo. Well, welcome.
Josh. Yeah. I've been just trying to more listen since I'm trying to catch up with where you guys are at.
Well, I'm running out of minutes, by the way, so you can read it online when we're done.
Okay.
So I said churches could be a solution to the problem in public. Debate societies can make connections. Don't argue with progressives on their turf alone. If witch hunts cross into religion, sue.
So you're not Jewish?
No, it's not about
I
making
would
money.
prefer put their heads on a pike, but we have to observe modern niceties here. People witch hunt your religion. You go after them legally. Yeah. You have every right to.
No, not for your own gain, but so that they may be destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even for yourself, just because a witch hunt against your religion is a betrayal of everyone in your community. Right. I mean, what if there's like, oh, I Google search everyone and we've got 3 Jews, and there's a big witch hunt. No, they never allow that. So why can I do that with Catholics, right?
Right.
And the answer is they legally can't. They just get away with other ways of doing it. So, awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to add one thing in. Pius has talked a lot about friends who are trying to start sort of conservative student groups interested in reactionary ideas. It sounded like an amazing idea, the way they were doing it, but then it started tracking into this whole LARPy stuff about monarchy, and the whole idea fell apart. That if you could develop, a dog whistle reactionary cultural group that would attract people of an anti-progressive persuasion and was focused just around reading the arts, that would be such a utility.
Yeah,
such a utility.
That's kind of been another place I'm looking for, because we have a really nice classics department here, and so I'm wondering if there's somebody
classics departments is another
group there that's like embedded deep in there where I can get involved.
That would be an amazing project to pilot.
Yeah, I think.
So, any more solutions to this problem?
What problem are we on exactly? I know the stream.
The problem of witch hunts in highly academic communities. I think we all know that the first step is finding a community that agrees with you, so you're not alone. Right. And I think the second step is just chilling out, right?
I think are we at the point where we're not above witch hunting back if we have the means?
We're in no position to witch hunt back.
You have to have institutional power for that.
Yeah. Hey, I'll witch hunt the communists at my university. I'll just identify the first 3 people I meet tomorrow. I mean, 60% chance of being right both times.
I mean, there's more like a strategic witch hunting, like, oh, this person wrote this pro-child marriage article. Like, maybe it's different where you are.
But expose people that way.
It's
not exactly a witch hunt, though, right? If you're not executing power through the institutions, all you're doing is you're deprivatizing specific embarrassing things, right?
I mean, if I sent that information up the pipeline at my school, some people would probably lose their job.
Oh yeah. I mean, the question is, I think that's something that's interesting. I mean, it has its risk. I mean, first of all, it does kind of go into the borderline unethical territory. But let's say we dispense with that. I mean, it doesn't directly confront the problems, because the probability that you'll be able to find the goods on your witch hunter specifically are probably pretty low, right?
Maybe. I mean, it may be a difference in where we are, but I know that that's probably something that's very easy to find, at least where I am, just because of the nature of the area I'm in. Basically, diet Las Vegas.
Well, sure. The problem is that, I mean, if you want to do a 4chan on somebody, find something embarrassing they've written and deprivatize it, right? Which I get, again, is questionably ethical, and in most cases would be unethical. You could argue about how strategic that is, but it doesn't solve the problem that's being described by I'm sorry, Wither, right? So,
you're saying it's a too small scale of a solution, basically.
Pardon me.
It's too small scale of a solution. They'll get one person instead of.
Well, I mean, no, it's it's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to snipe. I know. I mean, it sounds. I mean, has that ever worked for you? Like, have you ever had a witch hunter and then be able to like counter embarrass them so exactly? It seems like it would almost never work.
I feel like it may have happened once or twice.
Here's the thing: like witch hunters, they're not looking for specific people to be witches. They're just looking for any witches anywhere, right?
That's true.
And they come up with mostly negatives, right? But in order to witch hunt a witch hunter, you don't have to just come up with any witches. You have to come up with the witch in the person who's currently witch hunting, right?
Yeah.
So that's what makes it kind of very, very difficult to execute as a defensive measure, and I wouldn't recommend it. The way I would recommend as a defensive measure is when people witch hunt, there are a lot of people who are going to be groaning, right? Find those people. Because they're always going to be wondering like who's on the chopping block next.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That's a much better, because every witch hunter is going to have animosity stoked against him by the fact that he's witch hunting, right? You don't think that, if you don't think that people who are nominally progressive fear the Google search under their name, you're wrong. Everyone fears that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen
okay, so if you
professors posting about being concerned about that.
Okay, so by that logic, right? There will be more than a few people in a department that's being witch hunted who are afraid that the standards might shift left again and it'll leave them high and dry. In which case they'll be the witches, right? And that's where you start, right? Hello?
Yes. I think that's a good. I'm just trying to think. How would we identify? I know every college is different, but I'm just trying to think.
You identify the people who don't like witch hunting by them who are visibly disturbed by the act of witch hunting.
Yeah, my college is kind of weird and it's hard to figure a lot of that out sometimes.
I can't comment on specific circumstances, but I think we lost Edgy here. I think. Oh, sorry. Wait. So are we? Pardon me.
That was Edgy.
Well, a different, not Braving Ruin. No.
I know.
Okay, so
very distinctive voice.
Okay, so I think we're. Is that as many solutions as we need for that particular problem? Anyone else have any other solutions? I mean, anyone else being the two people?
You're like, I heard like half of the bits come through on that sentence.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of issue number 2. Anyone else have any other solutions they propose for that problem? I mean, you came in late. Do you have any? Hello?
I don't think so. I don't think I do. There's my mic not working very well. Hello?
Yeah.
My mic not working very well?
Okay. No problem. So do you have any problems you'd like to talk about?
I mostly came in to see what was being discussed and see if I could contribute at that moment.
Okay.
I just
No
finished
problem.
wrapping up a group project for a final.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to speak really quickly. Edgy's comment was the fact that people gossip too much in forums. I think that's an issue. I think that people need to really start controlling their shit posting if they want to become actual leaders, either online or IRL, because shit posting just destroys that capacity.
Yep.
As your presence becomes less anonymous, you have to stop shit posting so much.
Yeah.
I might have to dismantle my Twitter account to make it much less out there at some point.
What?
I might have to draw down my Twitter account. The liability is what I'm saying.
Makes sense.
It doesn't give me much. Nobody's like, oh man, I really enjoyed your Twitter account. You know, no one ever liked my Twitter account. They only, some people like my YouTube channel, right? But
yeah, liking a Twitter account is a very exceptional case, and that's when people's online personality is devoted to shit posting.
Yeah. This is, this is the problem. I mean, the Chewy, he's got a point. The dissident right's going to come into itself and it de-anonymizes itself. But at that stage, though, there's so much with the right. The left can do so much to us, and we can do almost nothing to them. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any other things? I think I'm going to close it down in about 5 to 10 minutes because we answered all the initial problems as best as we could within the limited time frame. Comments, questions, other topics that are tangentially related?
Oh, go ahead.
I remember in our minor voice chat the other night, you mentioned building a network, like trying to build our own network of activists, kind of like,
Yeah, that's an essential step, and it's an essential step, and it just needs to have the trigger pulled on it, right? Both the broad and the tight network, right? Which are two very different things.
That sounds like a project that I may start working on behind the scenes.
The broad network or the tight one? Pardon me?
I think.
Which one?
What can you clarify the distinction between a broad and tight network?
The broad network is everybody who's anti-progressive. Yeah. And its sole task is to retaliate against progressivism when they witch hunt against conservatives and anyone who's anti-progressive, right? It's a retaliation mechanism, right? Everybody who's anti-progressive, they all get together and retaliate against progressives when progressives go after anti-progressives. Yeah. That's the broad network. And it's ecumenical, it's multiracial, it's multi-communitarian, it's international, it's everything. Everybody who's against these MFs, right?
Yeah.
The tight network. The tight network are specific value-based communities which develop long-term. What?
Basically, trads would be what we're looking at.
Well, even more specific than that, I think it would have to be just Catholics. I don't think that there is an ability to tightly network outside of ecumenical communities, or my early attempts to do such have totally failed. And the reason why is that the differences will be exploited by progressives to subvert the unity. A great example of this, pardon me?
This is true.
A great example of this would be if we tightly networked Protestants and Catholics together, progressives would use the Protestants' more liberal attitudes towards divorce to subvert the orthodoxy of anti-divorce in Catholicism.
Yeah.
And then dissolve
And then
the
they'd
community.
also use to the Pope being liberal as well, honestly.
Yeah, that's a little bit harder because the doctrine stands in a certain place. And so you can always lean on that. And the Pope has not yet violated that. But the Protestants create a much more difficult problem. So this is why I have not, I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't, but I haven't figured out a way to tightly network and avoid this problem. But you certainly can, and you must broadly network with those people.
Okay.
So those
I'll
are the
probably
two
be
kinds of
working on
networking that I
for a
think are
few
needed.
months.
What?
That sounds like a problem I'll try to work on for a few months.
Which one? The broad or the tight?
The tight.
The tight. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What denomination are you?
I don't actually have a denomination right now.
So what community will
what
you be
puts me in a
tightly
bit.
networking?
That's what I'm going to try to figure out.
Okay. Well, I'll be really interested to hear your progress then.
Yeah.
Well, okay. For the last 5 minutes, anyone else have anything else they want to get to?
I've got something I wanted to bring up with you specifically.
Yeah.
In the interest of kind of thickening this internet community that we have, I mean, Mauritian has already kind of got something organized in the works. I was wondering if you had anything planned, because it seems like in order to do this like teaching and learning community, what it's going to take is people who are willing to learn, people who are willing to teach, and people who are willing to organize it.
Well, I think we're going to do some online lessons every now and again. I guess I'll certainly participate in that. But can you be more specific?
Well, I just mean, like, did you have anything planned for like trying to get as many people in this community to like engage and start doing something useful with your time while you're here?
Well, I mean, I've wrote numerous multi-page articles over the past 4 days.
But I mean,
like that was kind of something.
But like making a thing happen. So like Mauritian, like in response to this huge article series you put onto the Discord, immediately like got to work and like got a spreadsheet together and put everybody on it and said, start organizing yourselves out. Like, what do you want to learn and who's willing to?
Oh yeah, I'm participating in that. I mean,
okay. So you're involved
insofar as like organizing a community. I mean, the question is, what can we do? I mean, I was planning a book group for this month, but that totally fell through. So I can't do that anymore. Frankly, I was hoping to sort of institute this kind of Scrum system where we have a problem, we take care of it once the most efficient way possible, we write everything down and we post it, right? So that people can look back and see what this has been discussed, and they don't have to. We eliminate redundancy, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Mauritian's been talking a lot of time about getting people to share skills, and I think that's a critical dimension too. The question, and I haven't really been able to figure this out, is to what degree the online can actually surrogate a real community, in the sense that it can, help with addictions and build good habits.
Okay. I guess that answers the question. So.
Anyway, I think we're pretty much done then, right?
Yeah.
I'll stop the broadcast and okay, well, this will be over. I'll post the notes to the Discord.